This is All About Home Construction, and here's your hosts, Terry Cannell-Beck and Randy Blake.
That's right. Good morning, Randy.
Good morning, Terry.
Happy Saturday, man.
Happy Saturday to everybody out there.
That's right. Another All About Home Construction Saturday here on WATA. Thanks for listening to us, and give us a call, 828-262-1563 and 1567. I can't talk this morning, 1567. We'd love to get you on the air and, get some questions. But anyway, how's it been going on this last week, Randy?
Pretty good. We're been quite busy. All year it's not slowed down. The phone's still ringing, and the only thing is, people forget about our population up here in the high country.
Yep.
There ain't but so many of us. And
there's not three of you?
No. Matter of fact, I told my daddy one time I was going to whip him, and he got all excited and ready to fight. And I said, because I wasn't a twin. But we can't move. You call me today and want me to be there tomorrow, I can't be there.
Yep.
We have obligations. Each project's bigger. Some's bigger, some's smaller. And, I think that's the biggest complaint we hear from people out of town that are coming into the area because they come from bigger cities.
Yeah.
And
that's sort of my thing is like there's so much out of your control, if you will. The one that I think of the most is traffic in Boone. Like when you're in a situation like you where you're you got to go to a building supply. I mean, you may have to go to 2 places, 3 places for a particular day's worth of work. How much of that time do you lose, just getting materials, getting to and from the materials, to and from the job? There's a lot more than just showing up on the job and, and swinging the hammer, right? There's a lot of that prep work that goes on that you don't see. And, but then all that adds up. So when you got, 5 days of that, and then a month of that, all that time adds up. And I think, just like you said, where, people think you can just get there today, hey, come tomorrow kind of thing. On the same coin, they're looking at it like, well, you're starting this job. Why are you not here at 7 o'clock in the morning? Why are you here at 9 o'clock? Where you been the last 2 hours kind of thing.
And we have people that, especially if you do a cost plus contract,
right?
You go to the building supply. Going to the building supply is not a billable point, but once you get to the building supply in the parking lot, now you're on their time,
right?
Okay, that is a billable.
Sure. Well, but again, it takes time to do these things, and that's some of those unseen things when it comes to running a business and any kind of construction, right? I mean, you can put any trade in this category here, and that you got to worry about that unseen business work, essentially.
Correct. And if you're doing a contract job, you got to figure in that time. Mm-hmm. A man hour is a man hour,
right?
Okay, whether it's from 8 to 5 or 7 to 4 or from 8 in the morning to 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
And you have people out there demand it. I had one guy, he bought a house and he's going, well, you got my estimate ready? Yeah. And that was 3 hours after he bought the house.
Yeah.
And
and then the estimates itself, right? I mean, I understand, and we've talked in the past about, getting different estimates and more than one estimate, but at the same time, like, I understand I understand why. I mean, you want to get comparable prices, but at the same time, estimating takes time from somebody, and that time, again, is a cost of running the business. And so you've got to make that up somewhere. And if I'm spending an hour doing an estimate, that's 1 hour less of swinging that hammer, so to speak, that I can do, right?
Yeah, correct. And, another thing, too, is that people don't realize you want to estimate, but you want to estimate without a drawing.
Right.
Now, how do you estimate without a drawing?
Yeah. Well, you goes back to our show, and in fact, if you missed that when you go back on our podcast and check it, talking about where you've got to have a plan, and it sounds so silly. I know the people kind of rolling their eyes, but it's surprising how many people don't have a legit thought out plan. Again, with drawings and with all the steps involved, it's more than just saying, "Hey, buddy, build me this 20 by 20 room."
Correct, and the Home Builders Association, give us a folder, not a folder, but a pamphlet that we can use to the homeowners to get a general idea of what they want. Okay, well, you need to know what you want before an estimate starts, and I ain't trying to bust anybody's bubble, but I've had quite a few people that I say, here, you got to let me know what you want,
right?
Because I don't want to estimate it out, and it gets a little odd or a little hard. It gets a little bit of frustrating. How's that?
Sure.
You estimate a whole house out, and then next thing you know, well, I want to change this on the outside, but I also want to change this on the inside.
But I don't want to pay any more money.
Yeah, and it don't work like that.
Well, and I'm sure it's getting harder too, because people don't buy magazines like they did 15 years ago. It's a lot harder to say, "Hey, I want this," and show you a picture of a magazine too. As much as we rolled our eyes at that back in the day, we don't even get that anymore, do we?
No, but the thing about it is that picture will give you a lot more detail than them going, "Well, I want this, this, and this."
Yeah. I mean, that's it. How many times, if go back before the bust of 2008, how many times did you get that where this is what I want, and it's ripped out of a magazine, and then it's like, at the time, it's like, well, that doesn't really help me out, believe it or not, because, like, you want the specific, window, you want this specific what, wood, like what do you want by this? But like you said, like now we don't even get that, and so we got to read what their minds say, which is why it's good to have an actual drawing or architect or what have you.
Well, and I take into consideration, a lot of you might not like this, but after you make a change on a set of plans before it's even finished estimate 4 times, you know what I do with it, don't you? It goes in file 13. I'm not interested.
Right.
And because I value my time, or anybody's time, is important.
Yep.
And that is a cost factor, exactly what you're talking about. And yes, you can tell people that's never been self-employed because they waste a lot of time. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to insult anybody out there, but it's like left lane drivers, that will drive the speed limit in the left lane. When you were taught in school to drive in the right lane, the left lane was for passing only.
Going down rabbit holes. Tell you what, we'll take a break before we go down any more of these. Anyway, thanks for listening to us. We'll be right back right after this. That's right. All about home construction here on WATA. And again, give us a call, 828-262-1567. Love to put you on the air with your questions and concerns. And don't forget about the podcast, All About Home Construction. Wherever you listen to podcasts, just tell your smart speaker, hey, play All About Home Construction podcast. And bing, bing, it pops up. You do it on your phone. You do it on your computer. You do it on YouTube now. So go check it out. I'm telling you, Alexa's pretty sweet. She's a pretty nice lady. She plays All About Home Construction when you ask.
Yeah, believe it or not.
That's all you got to do. You don't even have to press a button, man. You just say, hey, Alexa, and bing, it goes off. It's great.
It is that fast.
It's pretty cool. But, I mean, that's AI. That's a whole nother show topic we can talk about sometime.
Yeah, and
it's the scary. I mean, as the computer geek, the guy who lives in 2023, it's so cool. But as the guy who's loves history and sees things like it can be kind of scary too. I mean, I like my privacy. I like to think for myself too. So it's a double-edged sword. But anyway, that's another show, another topic. So, before we forget, though, what's been going on at the VFW, man?
Well, coming up, Thanksgiving. Dave Faulkner, one of the Scots. Mm-hmm. The Scots went to the Veterans Day at the mall.
Yeah, I saw the pictures.
Did he?
Yeah.
And Bill, he helped them, but now Bill he's not a Scot, but he's an Englishman. He was born in England. And his parents moved to the United States.
Okay.
And so, English have kilts too. And but Dave does Thanksgiving, has been doing Thanksgiving longer than I've been a member there.
It's been a while, right?
Yeah. And, when he does this meal's for people that don't have a place to go. Yeah. And you don't have to be a veteran. That's cool. If you need something to eat, then you can show up on Valentine's Day. That's another dinner, isn't it? Thanksgiving, and Dave will feed you for free.
That's awesome.
And the biggest thing is I've not advertised it because I didn't know if he's going to have any help, because a lot of years he's done the whole meal by himself. That's cool. And set up in the whole 9 yards. And I won't be here this Thanksgiving, so I won't be helping. But a couple of the auxiliary members will be there to help him.
Nice. That's awesome. So,
and we all enjoy it, and we try to serve the best we can serve. But Thanksgiving's when the food account has leftovers and stuff like that, and we donate them to Dave so he don't have to have any money out of pocket.
That's awesome, man.
And somebody donated the turkeys this year.
Sweet.
And I can't tell you who it was, but we'd like to thank them. Nice. And so some of our breakfast items that we have will be out there. Nice. For people to eat. And, and if you want to bring a dish and come on. Nice. And he'll probably appreciate that too.
That's pretty cool. That's cool.
And I want everybody to remember, Christmas is our biggest meal of the year.
Yeah, so you got a big meal coming up for that? You got big plans?
Well, this will be the first one that I probably won't be cooking because, I'll be down. I'm having my knee replaced, so. And my doctor told me I could drive around, but he didn't want to see me working. Right. And so the Scots will be taking care of it. They did a fantastic job with the barbecue and the brisket. Yep. So we'll make sure next time we do double the amount of brisket. How about that?
What's the Christmas meal going to be this year?
Well, we always do prime rib and a charcuterie board.
Yeah, you got.
And we do a salad bar. Yep. And for people that don't, the soup this year is going to be clam chowder, New England clam chowder.
I like the French onion, but I'm not.
We have a lot of people I think are afraid of French onion. It's actually an excellent soup.
It was good last year.
And I love it myself. Yeah. Matter of fact, I'm sorry we don't have a set of scissors for everybody with all the cheese and everything, but that's the recommended soup this year is clam chowder with the prime rib and the salad and baked potato.
All right, sweet. When will tickets be for that one?
I'm trying to get Colin to get them out now, and that will be a $50 meal.
Sweet. And it's worth it, though.
Well, there's one thing about it. Generally, when you come, we like for you to go home with a go box.
Yep.
You know, and that means you got enough of what you wanted, and you have some left over.
Now it's a challenge. See how much I can eat. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, you know, the biggest thing we've always had a hard time with is we buy oysters by the gallon when we do the seafood and stuff.
Right.
Is you don't always get the same count out of a gallon, so you don't know really how to charge for them.
Yep.
And I did have a guy complain about not enough oysters, and I'm going, well, you know, okay, but that's just how it worked out because I didn't know what the count was.
Yeah. Well, I plan on taking a date to that Christmas time. I'm excited about that.
All right.
So,
well, and you know what? Like I said before, it's always great when you watch everybody smile and they enjoy it.
Yep.
But just remember, it's always volunteers that does all the work. We're not a restaurant.
Sure. Well, but the profit's going towards a great cause too, and we talk about that so much and what it does. So we appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate everybody coming out and supporting us.
Nice.
Or, excuse me, supporting them.
Yep. Well, it makes a big difference, and like I said, it's giving back to the community, and so we'll definitely, when those tickets are out and about, we'll definitely be talking about it on the show.
Yeah, and we appreciate it.
Well, that's it. Well, jumping back into all about home construction. So I was talking to one of our listeners yesterday. Actually, was sitting around talking to him, and Rob. And so Rob had a couple questions that really I thought would be worth saving and asking Randy. And so Randy has a small building, like a little 8x10 type building. And the first thing he wants to do is change it's just got the siding is just beat up, needs to be changed out. So we got on this conversation of what's the, again, we're talking about a building, not a house. Like, what's the best siding to put on, replace on a storage building?
Well, realistically, even though it's beat up, don't replace it. Cover it up.
Cover it up. Okay.
Okay. Then that way, you're saving labor, all right, and you're saving. Then you can go back with anything like smart siding. If you want to go to sawmill and get boards, you can do
like
board
and batten.
and batten. Because, see, you can use your siding as your purlins in your wall to do your nailing.
Mm-hmm.
That is, as long as it's not masonite.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. If it's masonite,
then you'll just have to put lap siding on it. Or put a 4x8 sheet over top of it.
Gotcha.
But one thing I would do, is because if you already got the siding starting to deteriorate, I'd put roofing felt on it.
Give it a barrier.
And that would slow down the decomposing of the siding underneath the siding. Okay?
Yeah. Well, so again, I hadn't seen this, so I don't know, but I'm thinking like the storage buildings I've seen, typically the siding's broken apart, it's starting to rot or whatever you want to call it, would fall apart because everything's, I say that because masonite's not quite the same as wood, but
just cut that off.
I was going to say, you just cut the bottoms off, and typically it's on the bottom, and so you just cut that off. Is that the?
Yeah, just put a piece of plywood back on it, and then start off that.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, would you need to put a piece of plywood? But I guess you would have to have something there.
Well, you'd have to do it to keep it from offset.
Yeah, that makes okay.
But then just cover it up, and the only reason I said put some felt on it is because it's already decomposing, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And it's decomposing from lack of paint, or is it masonite?
Right.
See, without seeing it, I don't know what it is.
Sure.
But when you put another covering on top of it, then during evaporation of water, it's not a lot, but when it rains, it evaporates and go in between these two pieces of siding.
Right.
See?
Well, yeah, no, that makes sense. And just to give it a little bit of a wrap, makes total sense to me. But, the difference is, like, again, we're talking about a storage building. We're not talking about an insulated, airtight house,
Correct. But it's just a protective is all.
Yeah.
And that's all.
But I guess the good thing is you could jump a little cheaper. I mean, in other words, get 15 or
regular, and you can
Yeah.
put it on with a slap hammer instead of putting it on with
Right.
button caps.
um
And then if you're going to put lap siding on, just put a 3-foot roll around it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then that way you can see where your studs are, and you can continue nailing and put your
go
next
on
layer
up,
on
right?
and
Yeah,
stuff like
move
that.
on up.
And you don't want to put a lot of effort into it, so you don't want to use a lot of button caps unless it's windy and stuff.
Yeah.
But to give you an idea, particle board was real big in the 60s and 70s as a product because, we put half-inch plywood down.
Yeah.
And then we put 5/8 particle board on.
Done so many of those floors. It's
Yeah,
Yep.
and but it was a standard for the time. And I remember my dad building a building out of it, okay? And he felted the building, and he put cedar shakes on the outside of
and
it.
it didn't draw too much moisture.
Well, that's the story. It did.
Oh, I was going to say.
Okay,
I was like,
'cause
wait, this can't end well.
Because it actually started deteriorating from underneath the cedar shakes because of the moisture coming from the ground.
That's exactly what I was wondering because, I can, again, just when you're talking about particle board, I've seen some floors where, again, like you said, you get the plywood, you get the particle board on top, and then, hardwood floors, and
Yeah.
you get a water leak in the bathroom above you upstairs,
And it's all shot.
Oh my goodness, it's you touch it and it's like wet cardboard is exactly what it is. Wet cardboard, and it's just oh man.
And I don't know how they made it because now I for a year I run the press for Brawl Hill at the particle board plant, and all that particle board was all hardwood shavings.
Where does that go? Because I ain't never seen them.
And
Everything, like I said, all of them that I've ever messed with looks like cardboard.
But it you could tell when a board had pine in it because it'd blow as it come out of the press
Interesting.
because of the high moisture in the sap in the pine.
Yeah, no,
That was how it was explained to me.
yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense. But,
And because when me and Deb first moved back home, our first table was a particle board table, and because me and my brother brought in a sheet. Now the sheet was 90 foot long.
oh, really?
Yeah, and it was cut in 4x8.
I never knew.
4x8 pieces. Yeah, the sheet was 10 foot wide and 90 foot long.
Wow.
And so we brought it home, and we put it in my uncle's barn in the loft up there
Okay.
to cover up the holes. Some of it has been there since '76, and it still hadn't deteriorated.
Nice.
And but our first dining room table was made out of 1.25 inch particle board. And I remember Deb going, "You got that particle board down there? Make me a kitchen table." And me trying to hoist that 4x8 sheet out by myself.
That's pretty good.
And we kept it for years.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to build a pool table out of it because the top of it was so slick.
Yep.
It was a 90-ton press.
Okay. There you go. It's got its place, but as anything that's around moisture, I just don't.
It don't last.
No.
And one of my pet peeves when it comes to cabinets and the homeowner, don't buy a particle board set of cabinets because you like the price.
Yeah.
And then the next
again, how many laminate countertops do you see that's got that underneath it? And look at the sink or the dishwasher where the steam hits it, and it's just swollen. I mean, I don't know how else to
it will
describe
after years, but it has a different type of glue in it.
Okay.
It has more of epoxy than a formaldehyde base.
Right, okay.
When formaldehyde got to being so big
Right,
for the
right,
off
yep.
gas and stuff, they changed.
Well, yeah, no, totally. But I mean, I guess assuming that the studs are structured, I mean, the studs are not rotten. It doesn't matter really on a building what siding you go on. I mean, you can go anything and everything, right?
Yeah. Well, another thing about the felt is that will actually keep the siding from condensating against the old siding, which will increase the amount of moisture level that can be stored in behind that siding.
I'm one to reuse a lot of materials and stuff, and again, thinking of the fact that like, oh, it's just a storage building. Would you would it be okay to use if I say I had a roll of plastic, 6 mil plastic laying around? Would something like that work, or would that keep too much moisture in?
I couldn't answer that question because I would think that it would hinder, and the reason for that, felt doesn't cause anything to condensate,
Right?
But plastic would.
So that's what I was sort of thinking is like that plastic would hold that condensation in, and especially on a hot day, bake it, and trap
and
that.
It has the opposite effect on the inside that it would on the outside.
Yeah.
And because on the inside, it would stop anything from coming into the house.
Right.
And that's the reason, it's been a long time since we had Buck Welburn on, but I think Buck's out of business. Buck's retired. How about that?
It's a good man.
And, but on his blown-in insulation, 6 mil is what you have to put on the wall.
But the difference of that versus on a storage building is you've got that that insulation is but that insulation's keeping that regulating the temperature. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Now, if you put your plastic on your studs and put your over top of it, then that'd be fine. That'd be on the back side.
Because it'd be on the okay.
All right, and the insulation would keep it from condensating if you insulate it.
But if you didn't insulate it, you'd still be okay. For a storage building?
Because it'd air out.
Okay. We'll take a quick break. We'll come right back right after this. That's right. All about home construction here on WATA. And again, thanks to all of our listeners out there. And don't forget about the podcast. Go back and listen to that, all about home construction. Share it with some friends. That'd be great. We really appreciate that.
Yes, we do.
And all right, so again, I told you, Rob had a question about a storage building, and what to, siding to put around it or replace. But so that conversation, just so as we're sitting around talking, that conversation kind of expanded a little bit, and got to talking about what if you wanted to add on. So say you have a small 8x10, 10x10 storage building, and you need more space. You want more. What's your thoughts, Randy, on adding an addition to that, adding a shed to the back, adding an actual another building to it, or are you just as well off price and cost wise and ease wise just to get another building brought in?
Probably not. You could probably add. You already got a wall that you can go against. Okay, but the biggest thing is that the Watauga County wants to get a health department permit.
Right.
All right, and the reason for that is because we've had people come in the county and build or have these little houses installed over their septic tank. Yeah. Or not little houses, but these sheds and stuff, or their fill line.
Right.
Okay. And then later on, they're having trouble because a lot of your fill lines now are evaporation. Mm-hmm. And so shouldn't be any problem adding on to it, but if you know where your septic tank is, right, you know where your fill line is, there shouldn't be any trouble.
Sure.
Okay? And first off, North Carolina's changed the laws. Anything under 40,000 now doesn't need a building permit.
Okay. So, a storage building is going to fall underneath that threshold.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Even if you're going, because when we say storage building, a lot of these I think of as the ones you see on the lots on the side of the road or something, where they bring them in on truck and trailer and drop them off, these portable type buildings, if you will. If I want to add on to it though, and I want to dig in and put a footer and things like that,
now footer's different now.
Okay,
See,
that's what I was wondering.
But you could put it on piers.
Okay,
and
but once I started putting it on footers and making it more permanent, I guess that's when it jumps into a different classification.
Correct.
Okay.
And that becomes a structure now.
Gotcha.
That becomes a structure that's not movable.
Okay.
Okay. And then you could actually run into that with this building by making the size you're going to make it.
Right.
And first the question they're going to have is, where is the what size is the footprint?
Yeah.
What is supporting the building? What are you doing? They're always going to ask all these questions. And what it is they're not thinking about today. They're thinking about tomorrow.
Right.
Let's say you sell your house and stuff like that. To give you an idea, a 4x8 sheet of T111 siding now is $34.03.
Okay.
Which that's a little faster than the Hardy plank. The Hardy plank is $3.34 for a 12-foot board.
Okay.
I can't give you this cost. I prefer smart siding myself.
Right.
And the reason I prefer it because Hardy plank is 12 foot long, smart siding is 16 foot long.
Sure. But if you're doing a storage building, an 8x10. And you're adding on to it. Well, okay, before I ask for that one, I'm going to back up a little bit. What does it matter if I'm adding on an addition to a storage building? Is it a size limit or is it just the price limit? Because I know you said, price for under 40,000. If it's not a permanent structure, bid footers and all that kind of stuff, as long as I'm doing it is there a limit on the size that I can build? I mean, because at some point it's going to get too big, and you're going to have to put footers in, or you're going to have to go over the 40,000. I mean, in other words, you can't start off with a storage building and build a house, obviously.
Correct. Well, you know what? Yeah. I've seen it.
I've seen it too. I had a good friend who actually lived off the grid up in Virginia and lived off solar. and he started out. It was his dad's workshop, and he just kept going. But that aside, like, you know, as far as the storage building goes, you're not limited, I guess, to a specific size.
No, you're not.
And really, the reason most of these storage buildings are 8 and 10 foot wide is they got to come down the road.
That's it.
You know, that's the limit on it.
You know, they allow them, but once you cross, is it 14 feet? You got to have a permit.
Yeah, I know I can't remember the exact length. I know it's around 12, 14, somewhere in there. Width, right. But I know of a gentleman. I don't know if he's still in business, but I know back in the early 2000s, back up where I grew up in Virginia. But this guy was out of like towards Mount Airy area. Sold, you know, made these storage buildings. That was his business, and he actually, I remember talking to him. He came up with a plan and had a patent and or engineered, whatever you want to call it, stamped, and we got it approved, where he could build these essentially like a double wide, where he bring two halves in, and he had it all spec'd out and engineered, and he had made several of them, not a whole lot, but a few of them, and but he would bring them in, to one at a time, two halves, and put them together, and now you got a twice the size storage building, and it was, typically, like, I think the ones he sold, it's not just to park your lawnmower when you get that big, you're doing it at a workshop or something like that. But
like Tennessee, you can do whatever you want.
Right.
With North Carolina, we have a little different rules.
Yep.
And so each state's a little different.
Yep. Well, and yeah, that's what I was wondering. Like, but I guess again, I'm going back to what I was saying before. Like, I think there's that misconception of like, oh, it's just a storage building. When you start to add on, though, you've got to take into account regular building practices.
Correct.
Like in other words, you can't just tack on a 2x4 on the side of that, on the siding, and I mean, there's more to it. You've got to use actual building techniques, and you got to use studs, and you've got to use piers, like you said, and your floor joists. You can't just slap up a 2x4 and call it a floor joist. I mean, there's things that you have to do. And again, you can't just shake your head and say, "Oh, it's a storage building. I'm only going to put my Christmas tree in there."
Correct. And everybody knows that once you build a building, it gathers trash.
Yep. Exactly.
And whether it's tools,
mm-hmm.
and it always fills up.
Yep. Just like your attic.
Yep. Or your basement.
Yeah. Well, and that's what again, I think it's cool, just that, because you always need more space. And I guess I've always been curious too myself of like, at what point would you're better off getting two storage buildings brought in versus one and then adding on?
Well, the adding on later will save you from having another one brought in.
Yeah.
And then you're not dictated by your size. Right. It depends on how they set it up, because see, a lot of them set on skids, 4x6s.
Yeah.
And
well, I guess that raises a whole other question, though, is because if you're not like, and I know I don't want to use the word foundation because I know we're not talking about footers and stuff, but the base, the foundation, if you will, has to be solid. I mean, you can't have it built up on skids and where that side, the back corner is washing out and is gonna sink down. I mean, you've got to have it stout, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
You got to fix it so the weather does not bother.
But even dirt, I mean, the thawing and freezing of the ground itself, when you've got some of these storage buildings just sitting on top, eventually they're going to settle and move a little bit, right?
They will, but that also dictates what do you have in it, weight wise.
Well, but if we're adding on to this though. The larger the footprint, I would imagine, the more you have to worry about that. Again, I'm just talking about the natural freezing and thawing.
It's going to. Every building does. Like the building I talked about, my dad built out of particle board. 4 corners was 4 block.
Yeah.
And that was it. All right. And then he put them on the side.
Yep.
Which there wasn't much structural there. I mean, they held up over the years, but eventually they sank in the ground just from normal rain and stuff like that. I was looking up types of siding, and what I run across was very interested on fine print.
Uh-oh.
And this is one of our bigger companies here in town, and I was looking at the fine print on it. And let's see if I can get it back up. And it said a 20-year natural warranty. But then I turn around and get down to the specifications below it and look at it, and it says warranty none. So
that's interesting. Yeah, of course we have a warranty. We have none. That's pretty limited.
Well, we talked about the warranty on treated lumber and about what you had to have to get your warranty on treated lumber.
Yep. Well, we're awful limited. We limit it to nobody. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. That's right. All about home construction here on WATA. And again, thanks to all of our listeners out there. And don't forget the podcast, All About Home Construction. Share this with some friends. Go back and listen to it. And then, Randy, of course, don't forget Thanksgiving coming up.
Yep, go to see Dave Faulkner.
That's at the VFW.
I won't be here. Matter of fact, I'll be gone, so we won't be on the radio next Saturday. So you're gonna have to listen to a remake.
We got you. We got something lined up. So, but yeah, no, for real. If you want to go eat, veterans, excuse me, at the VFW, not Veterans Building. Sorry about that. The VFW. Go on over there Thanksgiving, and then of course, and it's almost Christmas time, right? Next week we're going to be start talking about Christmas, so don't forget, the dinner coming up at the VFW for Christmas.
When we started that dinner, I didn't think we'd ever do it, but we sold out 50 tickets.
That's awesome.
And
nice.
And I want to thank everybody that came, especially you, Terry, and brought his date there.
I know.
And,
well, I'm going to try to bring her again to the Christmas one. We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
If you can't be with the one that you love the one you with.
I'm not going to touch that one. Oh,
Stephen Stills.
Yeah, but no, it's going to be fun. So, well, hopefully, I appreciate Rob and asking those questions, and it kind of.
I hope I helped you a little.
Yeah, I think so. I hope so, and it's a fun little rabbit hole to go down, and of course, I can't stop thinking though. You can turn those she sheds into a tiny house pretty easy.
Well, if you think about it, look back at what people lived in.
Right. I mean, it's what's the difference in a storage building built solid? These ones you see. What's the difference in that and a 150-year-old log cabin?
Not much.
Not a lot. I mean, size is about the same. The only difference is, you've got studs instead of but even 150 years ago, we're starting to build with frame dimensional lumber.
Well, there's a lot of houses in Watauga County that is two boards slapped together,
mm-hmm.
and there's a piece of felt in between the two boards.
Yeah.
And then in the 50s, they finally drywalled it when quarter-inch drywall come out, and see, they didn't have tape for it back then.
Yeah.
So you could tell when you go in the house that there wasn't any tape on it.
Yep. It's yeah. I mean, there's not a lot, and in fact, if you're really going down that rabbit hole, you can put the insulation in. You can get a lot better than the way they were building 100 years ago.
Well, think about it. Everybody either had a coal stove,
mm-hmm.
or they had access to a lot of wood.
There you go.
And that's what they heated.
And I don't like chopping wood, but buddy, I do like me a good wood stove.
But you know what? I remember people living in the house. There was no insulation in the houses at all.
All right.
And I remember going in my great-granny's summer house and looking through the cracks and watching everybody out playing in the yard.
That's crazy.
And in the wintertime, she moved into the block house. And a block house is cold. The only difference was the snow couldn't blow through
it. Didn't blow through it.
Yeah. And so I'm old enough to remember.
That's pretty good.
Them houses that people lived in, especially having a daddy that come out of coal country.
Yep. Well, it's we talk a lot about, my house is drafty, my house, I need this, I need that upgrade, but we've got it pretty good. Even some of the worst houses in the county are pretty good when you compare it to history.
Well, the thing about it is, a house is better than no house.
Right.
As long as you maintain that house, you can always improve it.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about it over the years.
Yep.
Just a candle will help you change a lot of things.
There you go. So, well, again, we appreciate all of our listeners out there. Thanks so much. And I guess, Randy, happy Thanksgiving, huh?
Happy Thanksgiving to you, everybody out there. And if I don't talk to you again, Merry Christmas.
We'll talk to him before then. Thanks for listening to us. All About Home Construction in the books. We'll see you next time. Take it easy.
Bye.